Some voters casting their votes at the Secretary polling station under the ongoing Kumawu By-Election say they have rejected a 20 cedis inducement by an agent of the NPP's parliamentary candidate NSCL Enim. Two independent candidates and candidates from the two major political parties, the NPP and NDC, are contesting in today's polls. Some of the voters who were approached and offered the money have been speaking to JoyNews' Nana Boache. Yeah, don't listen.
Obu Cheska, but I'm no pay my 50 cedis I am bottom. What 50 cedis? My 50 cedis I am bottom. One at the mouth. NPP. One young Oscar. Obu Cheska, Kroma, and my man, and you remember what Kroma now, or Obuba, one on our year. You may give your boy, and to see our radio or my more. Yet, near Jumaya. Your woman, and mother, I didn't blood yet, pepper, that in the more Bienni Capra, and the Galaha, who's a dear plan. Why are you looking? I didn't bring that. Why are you looking?
Let's now take you to the constituency for more. Nanao Boache is our reporter on the ground. He's joining us live. Nanao, how many people were given this money and when did this happen?
So Aisha, this happened at the Uno district in the Kumawu constituency where the election is also taking place. So where the house you saw or the house you see is where voters were moving to receive the tender candidate. We are being told that the house belongs to an officer of the New Patriotic Party and an agent of the New Patriotic Party candidate, they are inside that building, giving tender candidates to voters who have cast their vote. It's happening at the Kumawu polling station where they are being told in the stronghold of the NPP candidate, Christian Ambar. So it is alleged that the NPP is moving in to buy the vote of the voters inside there to make sure that they also secure a spot to other polling stations to make a win. So this is what is going on here at Kumawu, where I am currently.
What did the electorates tell you that these monies they've received would actually influence who they vote for?
For them, they are rejecting the money. The boycotted NPP, which is being held among themselves and the agents of the NPP candidates. That is what they are telling you. So according to them, the essentially is not what they agreed on. So the NPP candidates actually give them what they agreed on. So if they are not receiving what they agreed on, they are not taking the money and they are not going to start their vote on the way.
Wow, interesting revelations. But have you been able to speak with some of the the candidates or the NPP parliamentary candidates that these people are blaming or accusing of giving them the money? Have you spoken with any of them?
So when we got there, at that instant, I saw a car, granted to the parliamentary party. So according to one man I spoke to, that car belongs to agent of payment to their organization. So the man drove off, immediately got that from after signature. When we tried to approach it, we were not able to speak it. And then considering the noise, we did not want to be captured in our shop. So we drove off very, very early.
Nana Boache, Yadom, what can you say about preparedness or has the voting started where you are?
So I'm going to set you ahead of the voting has started. The only thing is that the voter turnout is very, very low to the polling stations that we are into. Most especially at Kumawu and for those polling stations, we cannot count so many people here. The voter turnout is very, very low.
Right, Nanaya Boache, he is one of our reporters on the ground. Will certainly touch base with all of them to know what's happening at the voting ground. But NPP communications officer in the constituency, Richard Nyama, has been reacting to the claims of vote buying. Listen.
So I'm not going to discuss our election strategy with you as we speak. But the key question you raised, I just want to say without mincing words, to say that the New Patriotic Party, we're not sharing money to anybody to go and vote. What we have done is to come here and canvass the people, speak to them, understand what their needs are, present a candidate who is a unifier, who they have embraced and they are going to vote for. We have done that, and we know that by close of day, they will go and vote, and the result will vindicate the position of our campaign.
Is it not surprising to hear that the communications director of a ruling party will go to sleep at 2 a.m. in a constituency that is perhaps a stronghold of his party? Now, this will be a cool chop for you and your party.
Well, we are not people who take things for granted. The idea that you have NDC here should keep you thinking what else they are plotting. And you see, because of that, you can't just go to sleep because you think that is your stronghold. We are interested in making sure we earn the vote. We have worked for it, and one more reason why you should understand that we cannot and we are not going out there trying to buy anybody's vote. We worked for the vote, and we wanted to make sure that everything goes according to plan. In any case, if anything goes wrong in Kumawu, NPP, this is our backyard. Any damage here affects us directly because we believe the vast majority of our people are here, and so we are interested in making sure this election moves on smoothly, and that's why we are keeping wake to ensure that all the arrangements and the organizations are intact, and to ensure that the election today is peaceful, because this is what we have worked for a whole month, and we're just making sure that the last day before the election, everything is where they must be to ensure that victory comes and it comes peacefully.
Before I let you go, would you love to hear police say, do you want to suggest to police to even pick up the issue of bribery allegations happening and vote buying happening in the Kumawu constituency? Is it something that you welcome as a party?
Well, we are doing our work. Other people must do their work too. And I'm focused on what we are doing. If people, the security services, observe any infraction, they are at liberty to do their work because we are doing ours.
I see. So, generally, how would you describe the voting processes since it started 7 a.m. today?
Well, so far, so good. I've been to a couple of polling stations. Everything appears to be peaceful. People are falling in line, voting and moving. The polling stations are peaceful. The numbers are building up. And so this is not the first time we're going to an election. The processes are there. The systems are in place. And I was telling an individual who's an NDC agent at a polling station at Botanso, Manguasi polling station. I was telling him that, look, our electoral processes have evolved to where there is absolute confidence, at least near absolute confidence in the processes. So what we need to do as a people is to make sure that the processes, how we shepherd the process is peaceful and allow our citizens to each cast their vote, and in the end we'll tally and see who wins. And so for me, I think that our processes have evolved. What we're expecting today is that those who have the mandate to vote or have the ability to vote should come and vote, and will be counted peacefully, and then the results will be declared for the winner, and I think that winner will be the.
I have learned something new from you. I thought our electoral processes were perfect, but now you are saying that it's near perfection.
Well, you cannot have anything perfect under the sun because we are humans, and so. But if you look at any processes, electoral process compared to what we have in our country, you can be confident to say that our process is near perfection. But there's more we have to do. That is, as time goes on, to see what shortfalls appear, then we'll deal with them. But as we speak this morning, there isn't so much shortfalls that you can attribute to our system. If anything at all, the human factor, the human interaction with the process is what, and that. We have agents sufficient in the polling stations to be able to check and make sure that nothing goes wrong or against any particular party's interest. And I think once we do that, our system is foolproof enough for all of us to be confident in that the individuals that will emerge today has emerged because he's the choice of the people.
So, Benis, that has been Mr. Richard Ahiagba, the communications director of the New Patriotic Party.
Our former chairman of the NPP, Peter McMeno, has been calling for unity among the NPP party supporters. He's also been responding to people who are agitated that Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is openly declaring his intention to campaign as a flag bearer in the flag bearership race, but still not resigned as a vice president.
Ghana, we don't have elections, but this election has come at that particular time, that is midterm. So it's a test of how prepared or preparations you are making towards the 2024 elections, more so when your main opponent has kickstarted the game with the nomination of their candidates and their presidential candidates, etc. And we have also set in motion the process whereby next week we will open our nomination. So it's a midterm, it's a big test, it's a major test. And also, if you compare the results of 2020 elections, parliamentary level, then you know that there is the need to look at the outcome of this election as a test of what's going to happen in 2024. In other parlance, they will say coming events cast their shadows.
So if Kumawu by-election is a dress rehearsal for 2024 elections, are the issues that perhaps exist here are the same issues that Ghanaians are going to use as a yardstick in measuring the performance or otherwise of the political parties that will be vying for the 2024 election, especially the two main political parties, NPP and the NDC?
I can tell you that all elections are local and personal. People vote out of local circumstances and personal circumstances. So how the new Patriotic Party government is able to satisfy people in their communities and at their personal level is going to determine who they will vote for. Secondly, there is also the need for the party's own internal unity, which is also an important ingredient for winning an election. So if post-primaries, you are not able to unite, and I can tell you what happened here in 2020 was lack of unity or disunity in the party that led to some of our own members who felt disgruntled voting for the independent candidate. Now we have somebody they are all rallying around in the person of Yawanim. So Yawanim, being referred to as Nkabomhe or the unity man, is telling us that we need unity within the party. So it's not only what you see in the communities by way of development and personal circumstances, but unity in the party is also critical for the success of the parties going into the general election. And we are prepared for that.
Now let's talk about the unity in the NPP. Just at the Kumawu by-election on Sunday, when President and the Vice President were here on the podium, mounted the podium to campaign for votes for the NPP's candidate, you could see all the presidential hopefuls of the new Patriotic Party, their banners, their posters, their T-shirts, all over at the campaign ground. Does this depict a party that is on course to unite for the presidency once more?
First, don't belittle NPP when it comes to internal democracy. And you cannot wish that away. Our internal democracy, we have demonstrated it superbly around the globe. NPP is strong as far as internal democracy is concerned. And we are going to exhibit that when nominations are opened, when the delegates are given the opportunity to vote. And I can tell you that the General Secretary has issued a fiat asking all delegates to go and check their name, to go and verify their names. That's a step in the right direction to avoid any rancor of Mr. A's name being given to Mrs. B. Okay, so we are on the right course, and if that happens, there won't be any form of disunity because people feel cheated during the internal elections. I can assure you the internal elections will be beautifully done. Everybody will come on board and rally behind the winning candidate, and then NPP moves on with our economic recovery program, with our local development programs like the road we are building for the people of Kumawu, etc. And what next? Votes, votes, votes for the NPP.
So you don't foresee any act of issue of disunity caused by the numerous number of presidential hopefuls who aspire to perhaps succeed President Akufo-Addo?
I think once the process is transparent and open, and everybody is given the opportunity to be part of the process with their agents, with their persons to be involved, then you can't blame the party when the delegates do not vote for you. Because that's the beauty of democracy. After all, we need only one presidential candidate and we need only one parliamentary candidate at each of the constituencies. So when the constitution of the party, which is the supreme law of the party, says that delegates must vote and is counted and declared, and Mr. A or Mrs. B has become the candidate of the party, we owe it a duty, a sacrosanct duty, to rally behind that person for our own victory, which we know is going to come in 2020.
Is there a way to say that what you said, the party has set in motion efforts to unite all the aspirants before and after the primaries?
If you don't give everybody equal opportunity, if you don't allow the electoral process to be transparent, if you don't allow delegates list and album to be well documented such that there wouldn't be any fraudulent means, then you are carrying on the duty of the elections in a more transparent manner, and everybody will feel happy and healthy and come on board. But if you remove Mr. A's name and plant Mrs. B's name, you are creating trouble for the party and the delegates, and they will resist and they will go to court and all that, like Dr. Dufo did. We don't want that in our party. So the General Secretary has taken steps to prevent, to nip all those things in the bud before the elections.
Just at the rally, at the Kumawu rally, that has been my reference point. I could hear some of the supporters disgruntled, and then they were talking about the fact that there's some sort of there's no level playing field for some of the aspirants. For instance, they mentioned the vice president. He's still in government. He goes around with government machinery and still has the intention, because just as such, he told the chief that yes, he declared his intention to contest for the NPP's flag bearership. And do you think all the candidates are given that equal opportunity as you suggested?
I can tell you that incumbency is there. Incumbency has its advantages. After all, we beat John Mahama when he was the incumbent president and had all the perks associated with it. But the position of vice president is fully entrenched in the national constitution. It will be difficult for you to say that the vice president is contesting election, so he must resign. That's nowhere in our constitution. But for ministers, they were appointed by Akufo-Addo. So it's different from the position of vice president.
And you heard the former chairman of the NPP, Mark Meno, speaking about all that the party has been doing just to win and retain that Kumawu seat. Let me get to Nanaya Boakye-Yiadom, who is also monitoring events for us. Nanaya Boakye, what's the latest from where you are?
So, Aisha, currently the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Ghc10, arrived at Dadiase polling station with some party officials alongside NPP, NDC's parliamentary candidate for Ayawaso West Wagon, John Dumelo. They came here to inspect the polling stations here at Dadiase, and then they are moving towards Kumawu, the Kumawu constituency itself, to inspect the other polling stations over there. Well, it's quite a monitoring event for the National Democratic Congress chairman, Johnson Ghc10, alongside the party officials, the National Youth Organizer, and then the communications officer. They are monitoring whatever is going on in the Kumawu constituency, but they are starting from that. They'll be moving to Setre and also to Oyoko before they get to Kumawu itself. So currently, we are monitoring the steps of the national chairman, that's Johnson Ghc10, and some of the NDC's party officials.
Nanaya Boakye-Yiadom is our man on the ground. We'll definitely go back to Kumawu for more. But we're still staying in Kumasi because I've been joined by senior lecturer at the Department of History and Political Science Studies at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dr. Kwesi Amache-Boateng. I'm grateful for your time this morning, Doc. Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Great.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
First, let's look at how this contest has been keenly contested, if I may put it that way, with the presence of all the big wigs and all of that. And some will say this is just a by-election. Why this heavy presence? Is Kumawu a do or die affair?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. Kumawu is one of the or die after Kumawu has been a stronghold of the NPP. But then there is a resurging NPP, and they don't want to allow the fire that has been lit to die out. So they are rekindling it. They are making themselves popular. They are endearing themselves to the constituents in Kumawu. So they're taking advantage of the current situation to simply let the people know that they are there, they represent a formidable alternative, and that they could also, pay attention to the NPP. But then, that notwithstanding, what I would say the fire in the elections is an NPP politics, which simply went bad and is now being patched up. Actually, the real competition really came out in the 2020 elections. I don't think the same thing is playing out now. What I see in the current situation is an opportunity for the party to mend the fences, to simply make sure that the disaffected people are brought on board, be taking advantage to give the people of Kumasi some development projects. It is the party, and I'm saying this because that is exactly what played out. The party and the government, they decided in a way to punish more people for sticking closely to the late Mr. Bafua. He was not in their good books. And so as we saw, until now, the place simply didn't get the basic infrastructural development that it needed. This hospital thing that the Muhammad started, for reasons known to, the government, they decided not to work on it. Kumawu chief himself, added his voice, pleaded with the government to attend to it some time ago. Nobody paid attention to that. But now we know that, they are attending to it feverishly. I think the party is taking advantage to, if you like, unite the forces there to address whatever differences that they have, so they could have a united party in the Kumawu constituency.
Doc, let's look at the candidates in these elections. You have Enim, you have Kwesi Amankwa, and particularly the two independent candidates. And you know all the issues that have come up with these independent candidates, almost dressed the same, almost same symbol until last minute when one was changed. I mean, will all of these play any role in these elections?
It came up because of the party's understanding that if they didn't do anything, the independent candidate, the very person who stood in the 2020 elections, the Kofidia who stood in the 2020 elections, might, if you like, disturb their candidate, NS Anim. But then, as things have turned out, this NS Anim is a darling of the constituency in Kumawu. And so my expectation is that, they're going to stick to him. I expect him to do better than, his godfather, the late Mr. Yeboah, did in 2020, simply because this time round, the party is with him. This time round, the party is with him. People believe that in the 2020 election, the party supported the independent candidate, Mr. Kokudia. But now that somehow they have come together and united, they have formed, then we expect that the party will stand stronger than they did in the 2020 election. This other, the latest Kokudia that came up is a conscious effort by the party to simply make sure to leave no stone unturned to, get the results they needed. And so they came in consciously, to cause some sort of confusion in the mind of some delegates. So I think that was intentionally done. But let me commend the EC for addressing the issue because I expected the EC to do that. The EC has discretionary authority to ensure that that sort of similarity, never stayed, and you simply don't have such cases going into elections. So the EC has done well. I don't think that issue is going to, become anything, to go by. It's not going to have any significant effect on the outcome of the election. The party has supported now. The party is strongly and in a unified manner supporting Mr. Ernest Adi. He's their unified candidate. The townsfolk, the constituents are with him. They see him as having been very loyal to the late Mr. Bafua, and I think they are going to support him.
Well, as you rightly indicated, Doc, that the NPP, that Kumawu constituency is a stronghold for the NPP. But also we've seen in the lead up to the elections how the NDC has been very present in that constituency. They've made a lot of appeals to the electorates, especially as we're hearing some electorates reject what they claim is an inducement from the NPP. Does this in any way puts the NDC in a better chance, or does it give it any good chance in terms of who wins the elections today?
NDC is building, its party in the constituency. I see some sort of new energy in the NDC. You have many people in the Ashanti region, coming out to support, to become members of the NDC. When you come to KNUST, you have several people from our faculty. And so, yes, you have a resurging NDC in the Ashanti region, and they are simply following up on this. And I think it is an excellent strategy the NDC as a party is adopting. Definitely, they will get some, people to support them, but it's not going to significantly affect the outcome. Kumawu is a very strong, stronghold of the NPP, and I believe strongly that in developing countries, political mobilization also manifests ethnically. So while this has become some sort of an attitudinal sort of thing, you don't get change, people changing their positions so easily. You need to be with them, build on it, and give them the assurance that, you will be with them, you will be there for them, you supply them with the good development projects that they need when you come into office. And that is what I see the NDC doing. They don't have to stop. They need to keep up with it, and possibly not just Kumawu, but also in a way make some inroads in several areas in Asante region. We have a lot of disaffection in Asante region for the NPP. And I think it's an opportunity for the NPP.
We've heard so much about vote buying and in this Kumawu elections. In fact, in the just ended NDC primaries, we heard about vote buying. In the delegates conference of the NPP not too long ago, we heard about vote buying. And today, we are still talking about vote buying. I mean, what do you think is accounting for this, Doc?
It's a delegate system. You know, it makes it possible for people to be able to, you know, raise money to cover a handful of people they need to win the election. It is a delegate system. If they change it, so it's a structural problem. If they change it and go in for all party members of good standing, and then they will have to define good standing clearly, unambiguously. All party members of good standing to vote, then vote buying will stop. Otherwise, vote buying is a phenomenon of our context. You know, the extent of poverty is too much. So that if you promise someone even 100 cities to vote for you, the temptation is that the person will go in for it. After all, what does the person lose? And generally speaking, politics is driven by interest. And money, you know, presents itself as a very powerful appeal. So to counter that, you change the delegate system and allow all party members to vote. Then it becomes very difficult to buy because you aren't going to be able to raise, you know, the amount of money to cover the numbers that you need to win the election.
Well, in Parliament, you know the dynamics in Parliament, and definitely the people who say that this Kumawu election has become very keen because of what is actually happening in Parliament. There's actually a hung Parliament, and you know that the NDC has lost one already in terms of JoyNews. If they lose Kumawu today, that makes it 2. But if they win, that puts them on the same pedestal with the NPP. How will this play out in Parliament?
You know, the possibility of the NDC within the Kumawu seat is remote, you know. It's quite, you know, tiny. So I don't think the NPP itself is looking forward to winning the Kumawu seat. They aren't doing that. In Parliament, they have that loss. Possibly. If they go in for a by-election, it might take it back. We are not sure of the dynamics now. The possibility of the same person, you know, standing again. You know, he has endeared himself so strongly to the people in the constituency. So if he decides to go again, if it becomes viable for him to go, given the hurdles in front of him, then he might have that hope of adding to their numbers. In that sense of that, you know, there's very little that the NPP can do. You will have to make do with the numbers you have. You will have to be able to get, you know, the rank and file of the parliamentary members to also work with the party. I think there's a gap there currently. They aren't able to get all of them to act in ways that the party expects. We need to work on that aspect.
Right, I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Kwesi Amache-Boateng, he is with the Department of History and Political Studies at the University of Science and Technology, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Grateful for your time this morning. We're still live on JoyNews Desk. Let's take a break.